For those of you that have been following the 11.5-inch build series here, well, today I ordered the light. What do you think I got? Well, if you know me and you know my channel, you know I got a mod light. They're on sale right now. They're doing their Black Friday sale early. It was a good bit off. They're still a very expensive light, but it's going to be set up exactly the same way this one is, this one is, this one is, this one is. It's going to have an Arasaka offset mount. It's a Mod Light OKW with the 18650 body with a mod button switch, and it's going to be on the right side of the rifle. Why am I setting it up exactly the same as all of my other go-to rifles? Well, because contrary to popular belief, there is a correct way to set up an AR15, and there's a lot of incorrect ways. So if you're new to this, or if you're not new to this, this video is for you. This comes from experience. This comes from trial and error. This comes from me not knowing what I was doing and setting up ARs the wrong way. There's a reason that most of my rifles are set up very similar. Since the 11.5-inch build isn't finished yet, we still do need to SBR it. And it's not quite set up. We're not going to use that as the example, but we could use any of my other ARs as the example of the correct way to set up your rifle. Now, I had someone ask me, or tell me, whatever, in a comment recently, how come you build all your rifles the same? Well, I definitely do have a type. I like quality stuff, but you know, even my more budget gear is still set up the same way. Same stock, same grip on everything. Now those are up to you, your choice. Pick the stock and the grip that you like. I like the B5 Systems Bravo stock and the Type 23 grip. Some things are not really negotiable. You need a sling, and get a good sling. I've got some like cheap Amazon slings when I first started. There's a big difference between those and a Blue Force Gear Vickers sling, or other, like I said, there are other good companies. These are just the ones that I choose. But a good sling is important. It needs to be able to tighten and loosen on the fly. Believe me, and even the cheap ones will do that, but there is a big difference. You need an optic and you need a light. Now, there are many ways that you can set up your optics, but there are the correct ways to set up specific types of optics. If you're going to use a red dot, or a holographic, EOTech, there's not technically red dots. You want to mount it as far forward on your upper receiver as possible without bridging it onto your handguard. Now with these Unity risers, you can actually set it even a little farther forward because they're kind of like a diving board out over your handguard. That gives you the best peripheral vision and situational awareness possible, and it doesn't do anything negative to your sight picture. There's no reason to have your red dot all the way back here. Plus, if you are running a red dot, it is nice to be able to use a magnifier like I've got on this one right here. And so that gives you space to run the magnifier. Now, I don't have iron sights on this gun, this gun, this gun, this gun, this gun, this gun. Yeah, that one has iron sights. That one has iron sights. I used to put iron sights on everything, backup iron sights. And in fact, in the last build series video, one of the comments was, needs iron sights. That's simple, 3 words, 4 words. It doesn't need iron sights. Tell me when the last time you used your iron sights was. I'll wait. You haven't. In the modern age, optics are really, really good. I have not had any optics just break on me. Now maybe if I was in battle, maybe, but probably if someone shot out my EOTech, I'm having more problems than just my optic going down. Now, if you want to use backup iron sights, go for it. What I've found is with the other things that I like to put on a rifle, I don't have space for them anymore. You see, I like to run night vision. And night vision, it doesn't require it, but you're going to want to have an IR laser aiming module. And then you have buttons for your light and for your laser. And then you just don't have much space for a front sight. For a rear sight, if you want to be able to run a magnifier or if you're running an LPVO, you don't really have space for a rear sight. And if you are going to use backup iron sights, then you better have a way to get your optic off quick. This one has a QD lever or an optic that you can co-witness through. Otherwise, backup iron sights are completely useless. You will not be able to use them if your optic goes down, if your optic's in the way of being able to use them. I want to talk about this video's sponsor, which is Aura. And we've talked about Aura quite a bit on this channel. They are the longest running sponsor that I've had on Sawtooth Tactical. And the very best way to support Sawtooth Tactical and what we do here, what I do here, I should say, is to sign up for Aura and try it out for free for 2 weeks using my link, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. What will that do for you? Well, Aura will go online and they will scrub your personal information and data off of the internet within that free 2 weeks. And then immediately you stop getting spam calls and scam calls. It's pretty amazing, and it's why I've stuck with it for over 1.5 years. Because even after that 2 weeks, if you decide to stick with it, it's only $12 a month, and they provide you with all of your internet security. They have a $5 million identity theft insurance policy that you have personally when you become a member of Aura. Besides that, they've got a team available 24/7 in the US, monitoring fraud, monitoring your identity, making sure that you are not getting your identity stolen, getting defrauded, making sure that data brokers aren't out there selling your information to scammers and spammers. And it's a consistent thing, and you can check up on it and see where they've found your data, where it's been leaked again, and where they've gotten rid of it for you. It's really freaking sweet. They also give you antivirus software. They give you a VPN. They give you home title monitoring, password manager, all these things that you would normally pay for separately. They do it all for $12 a month. But you, as a member, as a viewer of Sawtooth Tactical, can try it out absolutely free for 14 days. No strings attached at aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. Before the ad break there, I had mentioned an IR laser aiming module. That is only necessary if you use night vision. If you don't put one on your rifle. It's just added weight. Visible lasers are dumb, I promise. And I'm only saying this from experience. These are all mistakes that I have made. Again, we're talking about iron sights. I used to put backup irons on everything. I'd spend $150 for this. Used to have a set of Daniel Defense iron sights on it, fixed iron sights. Those are expensive, and to put them on every rifle and then never use them, it just got to the point where it didn't make any sense to me, because everything else on this rifle, everything else on this rifle, this rifle, I use when I go shoot them. I never use the backup iron sights. And if you don't have nods, you'll never use a laser aiming module. But a light is necessary, and get a quality light. Now, at the very least, Streamlight. These Streamlight ProTac lights are fantastic, especially for the price. I really like Mod Light. I've got Mod Light on everything, just ordered a Mod Light for that. They've been perfectly reliable for me. They have plenty of lumens, plenty of candela. They have a couple different options for light heads, for light bodies. You can do a really small one on a short build like this 300 Blackout. But get a good light. Surefire, great lights. Arasaka, Malkoff, great lights. Clown Defensive, their lights are good, I think. Just the company, maybe not so much. Now, Optic, Light, Sling. Those things are necessary. And there's a correct way to do them. And don't cheap out on those three things, because those things are necessary. There's other things you can, I wouldn't cheap out on anything, honestly. The more I learn, the more I do this. But there are things that are good value. Now, when it comes to your muzzle device, a lot of people, and myself included, I've done this. I at one point put big muzzle brakes on all my ARs before I knew any better, because my recoil, right? Well, I don't anymore. Every muzzle device that I use is a suppressor mount, because the only right choice for a muzzle device is a suppressor. You see, suppressors suppress noise. They suppress flash. They don't make your rifle silent, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now on 300 Blackout, subsonic, yeah, you can get pretty quiet. 22, yeah, you can get very quiet. A 5.56 rifle, especially a shorty like this, Not going to be quiet, but it's going to be a lot better than without a suppressor. So don't go wasting your money on, Strike Industries muzzle brakes. I'm only saying that because I bought a couple Strike Industries muzzle brakes. Get something that'll mount a suppressor and get a good suppressor mounting system. And I actually like to use 3-prong flash hiders for the most part. Now, I know that a brake can be a sacrificial baffle, which can prolong the life of your suppressor. That's a good thing. But just in case I have to shoot without it, I would rather not just kill the people next to me with a muzzle brake. And if you have a flash hider, it helps with flash a little bit. Does not help nearly as much as a suppressor does though. Couple other things to consider: a full-length handguard. And that's to mount all this stuff. When I say all this stuff, literally I just mean a light and probably some kind of foregrip. I really like vertical foregrips, or like these emissary handbrakes. Something, and you don't hold it like this. That's another mistake I made in the past. Big vertical broom handle foregrips. Shooting like this, you do not have nearly as much control as you do like this. C-clamp grip. But it's nice to have something to pull your hand back against, pull your rifle into your shoulder, and index your thumb where the switches are for your light and or laser if you're running nods. But you do want a full-length handguard. Now, I recommend generally M-LOK. I know this is a quad rail, Daniel Defense Mark 18. The quad rail is the vibes, and this thing is tough as nails, and I freaking love it. But I think that most people would benefit from a lightweight M-LOK handguard that's kind of slim and comfortable to hold on to. Because while it is a mounting solution for your accessories, it is also a hand guard. It's where your hand goes so that it doesn't get burned by your barrel. Don't get some drop-in carbine length handguard where you have to hold your rifle out here. Full-length handguard. Basically 3/4 of an inch to an inch shorter than your barrel. Just enough room to be able to mount your suppressor. And like I said, I would say M-LOK. Now, these days most rifles are going to come with a handguard like that, which is very cool. When I started, they didn't. I had to literally take off my front sight block, put a different gas block, do all this stuff with my first AR in order to put a M-LOK handguard on it. But that M-LOK handguard transformed that rifle, and it's a rifle that I still use all the time to this day. It's not on the wall behind me at the moment, but it's the one I've been using for long distance shooting lately. Now, there are a lot of other things that can be personal preference. I think a quality trigger is very important. I choose Geissele in every one of my builds. They're really not all that expensive, especially because they go on sale all the time. But there's other good triggers out there. LaRue makes a good trigger. Schmidt makes a good 2-stage trigger. I do think that a quality, component trigger where you have a hammer and you have a trigger and springs and you put it in there with pins rather than a cassette style drop-in trigger, they're probably just going to be more reliable. Now that comes not as much from personal experience. I had a cassette style trigger in one of my ARs. Never had an issue with it. That AR has a Geissele SDE 2-stage in it now, and I like it a lot better. So 2-stage triggers are just really nice. But again, that is personal preference. Other things like, this one's got a super safety, so not a great example. Go fast switch, but I really like the Radian safeties. I really like Radian charging handles. But all of those kinds of things, you can choose what you like. The main thing is Optic, Sling, light. Now, you don't have to set up your light like I do. I like a pressure switch on top where my thumb is, light, laser, that easy. A lot of people will put it on this side and then just be able to use a clicky cap. Well, just like this. So then, your hand is on the handguard and your thumb can activate your light. That is a way to go too if you don't trust cables and switches. I personally have no problem with cables and switches. The only one I had an issue with was this Streamlight, which is why I've converted it to clicky cap. The mod light switches work great. Surefire tail caps work great. And if you do stick with quality brands for all of your components and accessories, it's going to be very rare that you're ever going to have a problem with any of them. Yes, if you shoot thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds, anything can break. But if you buy quality stuff, it'll at least last those thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. Whereas if you don't, again, ask me how I know, broke a bolt on my PSA AR, broke a striker on my PSA pistol. Again, I have nothing against Palmetto State Armory. When I was first getting into this, the fact that I could get an 11.5-inch AR for less than $600 was very attractive, and I totally understand that. But just know that as you get farther into this, if you do spend a little bit more on quality, you will have just something that's going to last. And I kind of proved that with this build. This build is all quality parts. Radian, Geisley, B5 systems, Ambi Lore from Griffin Armament, BCM, everything here is quality. And I built that whole rifle for less than $1,300. So yes, that is double what this one costs, but it is much more than twice the rifle. And that's the thing. The buy once, cry once thing, I mean, that's the ultimate buy once, cry once. I already have an 11.5-inch AR. I built another one because I wanted one that I knew I could trust and that had all of the components and accessories that I have come to trust and to like. And the thing is, to me, is I want to pick up every one of my rifles and have it feel at home. So I use the same stocks, the same grips, the same triggers, safeties. I put my light in the same place with the switch in the same place. I make them so that they all feel the same. That way, no matter what I'm shooting, whether I'm, training CQB and I want something nice and short like the Mark 18 or an 11.5-inch, or shooting a little bit longer distance and I want better ballistics with something like the 14.5 here, or I'm trying to be super sneaky and quiet with the 300 Blackout. No matter which one I pick up, everything feels at home. There's a reason I set them all up the same. And there's a reason that if you really look into it, anybody that really knows what they're doing kind of all set their rifles up the same way as these two. But let me know if you agree with me in the comments. I know that some will. And like I said, it is up to you. Choose which brands, which components, which stuff you like, but just set it up the right way. Light, Optic, Sling, furniture of your choice. You have a lot of choices to make. You don't have to use the same brands that I do. That is not what I'm saying. But there are a lot of things not to do. Cheap optics, bridged onto your handguard, big frickin', vertical foregrips, giant muzzle brakes, red anodized parts. And I know a lot of people are gonna not agree with me. And you know what? You're wrong. Anyway, if you like this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. Let me know how you set up your rifle in the comments. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.